checked an average of 65,000 deer. ODNR reports hunters harvested 25,000 bucks, 36,000 does, and 8,000 button bucks. Coshocton, Tuscarawas, Muskingum, Ashtabula, and Knox counties had the most deer harvested during gun week. Deer gun season is open again on Saturday and Sunday, December 18th and 19th. Eric Brown, ONN News.
A significant warm-up begins tomorrow in Ohio. The National Weather Service says Ohio is in line for a week of temperatures of 50 and up. Even a couple of days in the 60s are possible in many areas. I'm Dave James on the Ohio News Network.
Calls and conversations continue in less than 3 minutes as the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues after this.
My son is not some statistic.
My daughter's not a headline.
My girl, she's not someone's agenda.
What she is
irreplaceable. COVID hospitalizations of young people have
tripled since the start of summer.
So I talked to my daughter's doctor about COVID vaccines.
And she said they're highly effective in preventing hospitalizations
and deaths, even from the Delta variant.
We can do this. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov, paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Does heel pain make you hobble just getting out of bed in the morning? If heel pain is affecting your ability to exercise and meet your walking or running goals, relief is as close as your local podiatrist. Podiatric physicians are highly trained doctors who specialize in medical and surgical treatment of the foot and ankle. Ohio foot and ankle podiatric physicians are available across the state and are devoted to providing the highest quality foot and ankle care. To find a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association near you, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Hey man, what can I get you?
Yeah, can I have 2 Coors Lights?
You got it. Hey Mike! I need 2 Coors Lights!
Sure thing. With a taste as cold as the Rockies, only Coors Light gives you refreshment every time.
Here you go.
Thanks, Mike. Doing a great job. All right, 2 ice cold Coors Lights.
That's the coldest beer I've ever had.
Hey, they don't call it the world's most refreshing beer for nothing.
Okay, be honest with me. Do you really have the Rocky Mountains in your beer cooler?
You don't believe it? Check it out.
Man, that's pretty amazing.
I know, right? I can't believe it myself sometimes. I mean, this cooler is only 3 feet wide.
Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. With great beer comes great responsibility.
Toyotathon is on, making now the best time to reserve one of the all-new additions to the 22 Toyota lineup, like the first ever Corolla Cross with available all-wheel drive and more space and efficiency than ever, or the all-new redesigned Tundra with uncompromising full-size power. Visit your Toyota dealer today or go online to buyatoyota.com, the official website for deals. But hurry, Toyotathon ends January 3rd. Toyota, let's go places.
Highland Sports Complex is the coolest destination for sports and entertainment the Ohio Valley has ever seen. Pop in for some open basketball in our field house or reserve some turf time for your next practice or game on our synthetic fields. Online registration is open for development classes and leagues for youth and adults. Highland Sports is also the hottest destination for birthday parties and other events. So come challenge yourself on our play climb and enjoy your favorite virtual reality game in the arcade. No memberships required, so visit highlandsports.com to find your next entertainment experience and get ready to reach new heights.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
From the Watchdog, here is your local weather forecast for your Thursday. Clouds will be on the increase throughout the day with a high of 44. Tonight, mostly cloudy, low of 35. And for your Friday, expect cloudy conditions with a chance of afternoon showers and a high of 58. And that's your local weather forecast from the Watchdog.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Live and local in the Ohio Valley, this is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
Still 25 degrees, Wheeling, Ohio County Airport, 22 degrees here at my home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling, 23 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. A little bit sunshine outside right now, but it'll quickly turn to clouds later in the day. Warming up a little bit warmer than yesterday, 41 predicted high for today, then up into the mid-50s tomorrow and up to the mid-60s on Saturday, but a very rainy, stormy Saturday in store. At least that's the way we're looking at it right now. So an okay day today, 40 and cloudy. We'll live with it. It's, after all, December the 9th. We're getting closer and closer to Christmas, closer and closer to January 1st, which means the beginning of the new year and all that sort of stuff. So, kind of we'll live with what we got. Where have we been and where are we going today? Coming up in a couple of minutes, we're going to talk about the fall of the Soviet Union. Hard for me to believe. It's been 30 years. I remember the collapse of the Soviet Union, the Berlin Wall, the whole thing. The Soviet Union fell 30 years ago this month. And still 30 years later, you saw it with the Biden-Putin phone call this week, tensions with Russia, the lead country of the Soviet Union, still dramatically tense. We're going to be talking with retired Brigadier General Peter Zwack, who was in the Soviet Union as it fell, and talk about the connection between then and now and what happened to Russia in the meantime. Also this morning, West Virginia teachers' unions say school personnel have been under greater stress these days because of the pandemic, and they need additional mental health time off. They went to the state school board to talk about that yesterday. WVEA President Dale Lee joins us later on to discuss their request to the board. Senator Manchin has always been pretty quick to deny any party change, always says, I'm a Democrat, always have been a Democrat. But NBC News says he had a somewhat different take this week when they asked him. We'll look at what he said and what it might mean, and we'll discuss that coming up. More conversation on Wheeling Council's revision of the city's drug house ordinance over the objection of the police chief. And I'm wondering, are landlords becoming the new power center in the friendly city? Plus, Tiger Woods is coming back. Oh, was he ever away? The things we searched for the most online this year, and the trendiest delivery foods. I've got all of that coming up this morning here on the Watchdog Morning Show. It is 8:13 after the hour. Always things to do around the Ohio Valley at Christmas time. We're running a lot of little reminders to you about things to do. Coming up the 18th, which is a week from Saturday. I want to put this on your calendar. A week from Saturday, down in Moundsville, the Arts and Culture Commission is doing Christmas on the Avenue. 5th and Jefferson Avenues in Moundsville from 5 to 8 in the evening. Come on downtown, get the old downtown Christmas feeling. They'll be doing horse and carriage rides. You know, it's funny, I promised my wife this week, I said, would you like a carriage ride? And we were watching something on the Hallmark Channel, and she said, no, where will we go to get one of those? I didn't know, but I'll take you if you want to. There we go. I guess they're going to do horse and carriage rides in Moundsville. Christmas on the Avenue. Pictures with Santa Claus, ornament making, a balloon artist for the kiddies, sugar cookie decorating, a holiday hay ride, lighting of the Christmas tree, hot chocolate, food trucks will be on site. It's Christmas on the Avenue, put on by the Moundsville Arts and Culture Commission. They have really been gearing up and doing a huge amount of work to make Moundsville a more thriving and vibrant place in recent years. And I commend the Arts and Culture Commission in Moundsville for this. But December 18th, 5 to 8 p.m., 5th and Jefferson Avenue is the location. Christmas on the Avenue. It should be a lot of fun. And it sounds to me like it's going to be fun for the children of all ages, as they say. So check that out. Horse and carriage rides. I did promise my wife a horse and carriage ride. I don't know why I promise these kind of things, Biff. Why do I say those things?
To be nice.
Yeah, but then well, unfortunately, she said, no, we don't need a horse and carriage. But what if she said, yes, that's what I want. Let's go for a walk. I had no, when I said it, I didn't know we're going to get a horse and carriage ride at. But all I know is I saw it on the Hallmark Channel.
Well, it's the thought that counted.
Yeah, it is. It is. And, but maybe we'll, on the 18th we'll go down and take a horse and carriage ride. Sounds like a lot of fun. Just this week, President Biden and President Putin had what seemed to be a pretty tense video call, talking primarily about concerns over the threat to the Ukraine from the Soviets, or from, see, I said Soviets, from the Russians, and how we might respond to that. And the president said there were no minced words. It was polite but very, very clear that we will not tolerate this kind of thing. The tensions are still very high, maybe higher now than they've been for a while, as with Russia. And it's interesting that this is on the year in which we take note of the 30th anniversary of the collapse of the Soviet Union. I remember it. I remember the disbelief and also the kind of excitement that we had won, the Cold War was going to be over, the Soviet Union collapsed. But then things transmogrified in Russia, leading us to where we are today. Retired Brigadier General Peter Zwack was a young Army captain in the Soviet Union during its waning days. He was studying Russian at a regional university, and I wanted to talk about the Soviet Union's collapse, what happened to Russia in the meantime, and how we ended up where we are today with the tensions still rising high. General, good morning. Welcome to our radio program.
A fine good morning to you, Howard.
So, when you were a young Army captain, you were studying in the Soviet Union, I think, 30 years ago. What was it like around this time? I mean, were people preparing to see that great evil empire collapse? Did they know what was happening?
And also, good morning to your listeners. This was an extraordinary time, and whatever happened, I pinched myself thinking that I actually was there for much of it. For a little bit of background, for whether baby boomer or Gen Zs, I'm going to try to put some context into it. I was a young 25-year-old lieutenant whose first assignment in 1981 in the Army was a nuclear-capable artillery battalion that was going to fly to Germany and fire nuclear rounds in defense of NATO if the Soviets came through the Fulda Gap. That's the environment I came in, and you think we took it seriously, but you think about it, what a crazy time that was. But it was real. 9 years later, things are changing so fast in the world and in the Soviet Union. I get a Soviet visa. It wasn't even Russia, a Soviet visa, and a couple of my friends did as well to study, as Howard said, in a regional university, provincial, not in Moscow, not in Leningrad, where I spent the summer among Russians and an American college group, really studying, really getting to know the Russians back and forth. We were like, at that time, almost like rock stars. And there was a hope and an expectation that things are going to be better. Everybody wanted to know about business. Nobody knew how to get there, but it was a crazy time. I will say this, though. No one at that time anticipated 2 years later the complete breakup of the Soviet Union into 15 different republics. Now, founding story for what I would call a new Russia. Imagine you're a proud, patriotic Russian. You don't have to be a nationalist. And there are troubles all over, but there's also positive things going on. You wake up the day after Christmas, and all of a sudden, you are one of 15 nations. Your entire Soviet Union, about 35, 40% of your land mass, half of your population, break up. And now, while you are still the dominant country of 15 republics, you have broken that up. And in those other 14 republics are approximately 25 to 30 million ethnic Russians that wake up, some in countries who hate their guts. And so all of that then goes into the 1990s, and we do try to help and with support. Amazingly, we were able to manage on the nukes. We get nukes out of Ukraine, out of Belarus, and out of Kazakhstan. But it is the Wild West. And my book is all about that period. What I would call enhanced hopes, almost a naivete about things are going to be better, increasingly moneyed interests in the mafia and black marketeers that become oligarchs, kind of hijack the whole thing. And meanwhile, you've got the great power thing going on and still stress in the world, and it starts to fall apart. And we then get Vladimir Putin in 2000. The Yeltsin years basically fail, and things deteriorate significantly down since then. But the scar tissue from the breakup exactly 30 years ago this Christmas is deep and fundamental, and we need to understand that to understand why the Russians are the way they are today and misbehaving, I will say, regarding Ukraine, but one has to try to get into their head. Last point. For those of you millennials, Gen Zers, I was just got from the Moscow Times an English language thing. Not long ago, there was an article on Gen P, Generation Putin, and the question, and the question, friends, was he's all we know. Meaning, if you were, born 25, 30 years ago, 35 years ago, Putin is all you know if you are a Russian. So this is a really, really complicated thing. Howard, I will thank you for your question. I will stand back and go back to you.
Well, no, that's wonderful background. And again, I remember all of those days. I'm old enough to have, I think I'm older than you are, so I remember all of that. I remember being somewhat surprised the Soviet Union seemed to fall faster. It was like it was suddenly running downhill faster than it could keep up. But we said at the time, we sort of being America or Americans, we said democracy and capitalism won in this Cold War. In retrospect, I'm not sure that that's a fair assessment, that democracy and capitalism won. Are you?
I think that, and I remember that heady period, and I was in the 90s on the Joint Chiefs of Staff as a staff officer working for NATO, specifically something called the Partnership for Peace, of which, by the way, Ukraine was an early member, and Russia briefly was as well before it suspended itself. And so there were things going on. But yes, there was a sense of triumphalism that you'd hear it in politics coming out of the Hill. We won the Cold War. Russia, there's a country, remember, Upper Volta, a broken little country. Russia, Upper Volta with nuclear weapons. The Russians, if I can't emphasize anything more, are intensely proud and want respect. Now, they got to earn it, too. And by the way, I'm just trying to give a perspective. Most of what has happened regarding the Russia in the last years have been egregious and wrong on the Russian side. But I spent a lot of time trying to get into the Russian head, though I never fully will because I'm not born in the skin. But they've got a huge amount of scar tissue regarding the West. What I said, perceptions, pride. Remember, out of the West came the Nazis in the lifetime of their grandparents, the old ones. Over 20 to 26 million people died. So you have all that in a swirl going on. Talk of Ukraine possibly joining NATO. It was through Ukraine and Belarus and all that the Nazis came 80 years ago. So there's, and of course, NATO is no offensive threat. And I go blue in the face in telling the Russians that. But they will grab and say, but hey, remember that. And then they will also grab the narrative to stoke the nationalist side that NATO is a threat, and that's put us in part where we are today with Ukraine.
When you are that big and that in control as the Soviet Union was, so you've got all of these republics under your empire, and you're in control, and you are one of two dominant powers in the world. When that falls apart, there's a huge amount of disorganization, and I assume I don't assume I know, but maybe you can elaborate a bit. What happened was a lot of regional, in the beginning, a lot of regional control was taken, sometimes by financiers or mafia folks or former KGB or whatever. I mean, when it collapsed, it left a lot of pieces, and there was, in each piece, somebody was looking to be in control, right?
There was a lot of that. There were a lot of, if you will, former apparatchiks that within their republics were able to move into positions of power. No, that's a very, very good point. And then over time, some where it was real and others were trappings, if you will, of whatever we would call democracy in this sense. There was all of that. But the bottom line is that the 15 republics of the former Soviet Union, including Russia, were in a swirl. Some moved faster than others. The Baltic republics being where they were and closer to immediate to Europe and philosophically were able to adjust faster. But you had Central Asia, and you had the countries of the Caucasus, and Georgia, and Armenia, and Azerbaijan, and Moldova, and Belarus, where you have this strong man, Lukashenko, for the last 24. All of what you say, Howard, is all these things that are going on. Plus, you've got a narrative. You've got Russia trying to assert its dominance in the regions of the former Soviet Union. It would be one of its major policies. Our policy, NATO's policy, much of the world, is you cannot dictate to another nation what its foreign policy is going to be or what organizations you are going to be a member of, which gets at some of the problems today, major problems regarding Ukraine, Georgia, and stuff like that.
Putin is often referred to in the media as former KGB agent Vladimir Putin. Does that KGB connection, does that have any relevance at all today to the Putin of today?
That's a great question. Yes, those are his roots, all right? And I think that I and many others underestimated Putin back in the 2000s. And I think a lot of this KGB guy, he's going to be in there for a while, and then he's going to move on and somebody else. And we were wrong. He's, been in power for almost all that time, for now 22 years, either as president or briefly as prime minister, where he was still in power. 22 years, and Howard, friends, he's still in power. And while his popularity is around the 60s and it fluctuates back and forth, I'll never forget a discussion with a cab driver, just a simple guy from Rostov, Black Sea, just a couple years ago, and he asked me about our president, which then I went back, and he said, basically about Vladimir Putin, yes, he's our president. I don't always agree, but he's strong, and he takes care of us, almost as if they see him almost as a czar-ish type of person. So 22 years, he could be there another 10 to 12 years, depending on his health. They have gerrymandered, if you will, the electoral system where he could be reelected for 2 more 6-year terms, which is fascinating to me because in China, and I don't want to get on an anti-Chinese bandwagon, but I throw out this data point, President or Premier Xi is there for life and potential. So in our foreign policy, managing Russia and China, we have to remember that those two who have a partnership, I believe it's transactional, but it's there, could be working together for the next 10 to 12 years.
You know, it's a not complete comparison, but I think in some ways of Putin and Saddam Hussein. First of all, going back to the point you made, when Saddam Hussein fell, the people in Iran just didn't know anything other than Saddam Hussein. And even though we saw him as a terrible dictator and removed him from power properly so, the people still, I mean, in their minds, he provided for them. Putin's somewhat the same way.
Yeah, I mean, there is, again, going back to the Gen Zers, he's all they know. And while you have an electoral campaign and people, and they're still jailing aspirants, like what's this awful thing that's gone on now with Alexei Navalny for almost 2 years. Yes, But they're swirling, and this is what I think is really important, Howard, friends, with Russia. I think the Russians right now, the regime, Putin, they're on a precipice in Ukraine because they have the military means along the border to go. And it could go in, and they could probably win in the beginning, and it would be ugly, and but they could do that. But then now what do they do? Because that population snapped not just once, but twice in the last generation, from 17 to 19, and then, of course, 89 through 91. So there's an aspect of the regime that's always looking over its shoulder. You've seen the protests out there, the pensioners, and when they tried to shut down aspects of the internet. So it's a balancing game. And the last point there is that the protesters, it does show that Russia has changed a lot since Stalin's Soviet days, is there are protests, and not everybody is being locked up and sent to the gulag. It isn't that. I would say it is now a high-level autocracy, low-level dictatorship, but not a full-blown dictatorship.
Let me try to put this, wrap it up here with a look ahead. Based on your knowledge, your experience, your understanding of the Soviets, of the Russians, of military strategy and all other things that your expertise brings to mind, what is next for Russia, and what should our attempt at a relationship be with Russia?
Thank you for that question. First, we and the Russians and we, and that we is really the U.S., the West, like-minded nations, have to find a way, in my mind, in the next 5 to 7 years. Remember with everything going on in the world, and we're right to be worried about climate change is existential. We're right to be worried about a growingly ambitious, let me put it that way, China that is immense and aggressive. But on a bad day, we and the Russians, and with us, with the world, we can take each other off the planet in 12 hours and everybody else. So we've got to find a way. I believe in, again, to get through the next half decade or whatever and work our way out of this. Both the United States, West, and Russia are more culturally aligned than a lot of the other relationships in the world where we are going to have potentially major problems, including Russia to its south and its far east, where right now they have been executing what I would say a prudent foreign policy in their partnership with China, though I don't believe philosophically it's in their long-term interests. And I think the smart ones quietly don't believe it as well, but they won't say that publicly.
General, I'm putting you on my foreign expert call list from time to time. I may check in with you because I really have enjoyed our conversation. I think you bring a huge amount of expertise to this. You have a new book out, I think, right?
Hey, thank you for mentioning that. Yes, it's about all this time, and it's on-the-ground, hands-on, through my eyes, experiences in this Russian provincial town, Soviet Union from '89, during the period of the fall, all the way up to the time of Putin. I'm told that it is a non-complex, a interesting read on a non-complex, on a complex topic, and I hope you read it and would love to answer more questions. It's a very, very personal book, and there are not a lot of Army officers running around Russia writing about it.
And the title is?
It's called Swimming the Volga, and it's from an '89 where I used to, with students, both American and Russians, in this little provincial town, we'd swim across the Volga River and back, where it was about 300 yards wide. And I went back with my family, full circle there, in 2013 when we were serving in Moscow. I was a defense attaché, and I went back with my USO hat, went into the Volga again. So, yeah, so that's the metaphor.
General, I appreciate your time this morning. I appreciate your service. I thank you for the conversation we've had today. And again, don't be surprised if I don't reach out and ask you to offer some comment on other things as time goes by. Great talking to you. Thank you very much.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you to you all.
All right. Retired Brigadier General Peter Zwack, who was a young Army captain in the Soviet Union as it began to fall 30 years ago this year. 30 years ago, December 26th is the day that's defined as the end of the Soviet Union. So the day after Christmas, Soviet Union is done. Russia goes into disarray for a while. The other republics go into disarray for a while. General Zwack was there at the time. So we got some of his perspective on that. He is a very credentialed guy, Biff. He spent 34 years in military intelligence. I know, that's an oxymoron, military intelligence, but he spent 34 years in military intelligence. He was a Eurasian Foreign Area officer. He served in Russia, West Germany, South Korea, Kosovo, and in Afghanistan. Currently a global fellow at the Kennan Institute for Advanced Russia Studies and the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars. And if his name sounds somewhat familiar, or his voice sounded familiar, it is because you see him frequently on CNN and MSNBC and PBS. He is a frequent commentator on these affairs because he really knows what he's talking about. And we were really lucky to get him to spend some time with us this morning. I reached out to him a couple of weeks ago, and he actually was in Europe for a few weeks, but as soon as he got back with us. And I thought he was pretty good, Biffy. That was one of the good ones. I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed that as well.
It's always interesting to hear that. And you know, we all can speculate about things and talk about Putin and talk about this guy lived it. And to me, that's a pretty big deal. Retired Brigadier General Peter Zwack. It is 8:37, 23 before the hour here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Joe Manchin always says, I'm a Democrat, I'm not looking to switch parties. And I've always said I believe that. I think that's true. But NBC News said he gave a little different kind of answer this week, and I want to share with you what he said. And what does that possibly mean? We will talk about that and more coming up on the Watchdog Morning Show after we check some Ohio Valley headlines.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time for your local.
Okay. I thought it was pretty good. I'll keep him on my list. Yeah, it's a good idea, yeah. Dale Lee is 9:15. We'll do Manchin. Do you have any idea what Bill's doing today that he's mentioned to you? Okay, that's fine. Probably. Okay. Yeah. Yep. You know, I always like to try and promote it a little bit. And what did, I think you ran the promo, what did Dave Weekly say he's doing tonight? Did you pay any attention? I didn't. I heard the promo, but I didn't pay that much attention to it. Okay, all right, that's fine. If you want to break the spots up into two segments, I'll try and take a second break if I have to. Yeah. Yep. What was the final score? Yeah.
Coming up on Metro News Hotline. On Thursday's Hotline, we'll get breaking movie news from Jermaine Lucier. Kathy Mateo will tell us about artists on the upcoming mountain stage. Wick Terrell with MLB Hot Stove Talk, Lockout Edition. Plus Amy Smith with her read on the weekend stock market, and Kevin Kinder with WVU Insights. Plus your calls, texts, tweets, and the question of the day.
Okay, that sounds like a good show.
To just 39% shooting from the field and just 14% from three-point range. Connecticut made just 3 of 21. West Virginia nearly ended its chances of winning the game by struggling at the foul line. The Mountaineers
Sleigh bells ring. Hey, are you listening? In the lane.
West Virginia now 8-1. Connecticut loses for just Mountaineers. Three. That is today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield.
You know, there's variety shows, and then there's, well, my variety show. I'm Bill DeFabio, and I bring you the best variety talk in the Ohio Valley, quite possibly the world. Join me from noon till 2 to talk sports, nostalgia, and hear from some of the legends of the game. You won't believe who I have on next. The Bill DeFabio Variety Show, noon till 2 on the Watchdog.
The Watchdog Network wants you to take time for yourself and your family this holiday season and enjoy some of the events around our valley. Buy local and escape the hustle and bustle of retail holiday shopping by visiting Ogilvy Institute's Holiday Art Show and Sale. They're open through December 23rd at the Stifel Fine Arts Center and at the Schrader Center in Ogilvy. Happy holidays from the Watchdog.
Your friends and the members of Roofers Union Local 188 in Wheeling remind you that we are fortunate that when necessary, we have one of the strongest militaries in existence. The individuals who make up our military deserve our respect and support, and we salute them. This message from all the great and caring folks, that's the members of Roofers Union Local 188 out of Wheeling, representing licensed, bonded, and insured roofers for all residential and commercial projects. That's Roofers Union Local 188, wishing everyone a safe and healthy season.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
This holiday season, give family and friends the gift of a night out at West Banco Arena and Capitol Theater. With tickets and gift certificate offerings, there's something for everyone. Call 304-233-7000. That's 304-233-7000.
I'm not buying till I checked on for.
Most of us are faced with uncertainty every day. Your job, your finances, sporting events, schooling for your children, and so much more. With so much uncertainty surrounding you, there is one auto dealership that you can be certain about, and that's Doan Ford. You can be certain that you always get a great deal and the best service afterwards. Being in business for over 50 years has given Doan Ford the reputation of being a strong, reliable dealership. Be certain. Choose Doan Ford. Online at DoanFord.com.
I'm not buying till I check Doan Ford.
Highland Sports Complex is the coolest destination for sports and entertainment the Ohio Valley has ever seen. Pop in for some open basketball in our field house or reserve some turf time for your next practice or game on our synthetic fields. Online registration is open for development classes and leagues for youth and adults. Highland Sports is also the hottest destination for birthday parties and other events. So come challenge yourself on our play climb and enjoy your favorite virtual reality game in the arcade. No memberships required, so visit highlandsports.com to find your next entertainment experience and get ready to reach new heights.
Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands is the perfect place to relax after a long day. Happy hour from 3 to 6 Monday through Friday. Get $2 off appetizers, $3 off domestic drafts, and house wine specials. Quaker Steak and Lube, voted Best Wings USA. Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands with another steal of a deal. Get a steak burger and fries all day Monday for only $8.99. It's also Military Mondays. The Lube will take 25% off for all veterans, active duty military, and first responders. Quaker Steak and Lube, voted Best Wings USA.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
It all comes down to this. Biden, Pelosi, and the extremists in Congress are on the verge of passing a multi-trillion-dollar spending spree, including taxpayer funding for abortion, even for painful late-term abortions. The only thing standing between us and their plans to bankrupt America and force West Virginians to pay for abortion is Senator Joe Manchin. Manchin is holding the line against their extreme socialist agenda. But Manchin is under incredible pressure from Washington liberals. Biden and Pelosi are intent on forcing West Virginians to pay for abortion on demand, even up to the moment of birth, when babies can feel excruciating pain. Call Senator Joe Manchin at 202-224-3954 and tell Manchin to keep standing strong. Stop their reckless spending and don't force West Virginians to pay for abortions. Paid for by Susan B. Anthony List.
If you missed us the first time, keep going. You'll find us just down the dial. AM 1600 and 1370, FM 98.1 and 97.7. We are the Watchdog.
Live and local for the Ohio Valley. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
A beautiful sight. We're happy tonight. Walking in a winter wonderland.
The Ohio Valley home of the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe and Biff Leonard, not to mention Hoppy Kirchhoff's statewide talk line, and of course the infamous, I say infamous, Bill DeFabio variety show every day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at noonish. And then Dave Weekly in the Hotline show in the afternoon. Dave's got a lot of good stuff coming up this afternoon. Dave Weekly on Hotline. Movie news. Always enjoy getting the entertainment stuff. Kathy Mattea, the new host of Mountain Stage, coming in to talk about some musical matters as well. MLB's Hot Stove blog reporter will be in to talk about the lockout that's still going on, I guess.
Be thankful, Pirate fans.
Yeah, hey.
They can't lose.
If they can't play, you know what they say in the lottery, Biff? You can't win if you don't play. Can't lose if you're not allowed to play. For Pirate fans, just hope the lockout continues, I guess. And also WVU Insights coming up. All that's today on Hotline with Dave Weekly from 3 until 5 o'clock. We have local sports, local news, Ohio news, all the important stuff. Darnell's got the fort. Well, actually, Darnell's on vacation, right?
Darnell's sick.
He's sick. Okay.
Yes.
He's been away, I know, all week. All right.
Yes.
But we'll have the weather for you. So you got news and weather and local information all combined with Dave Weekly and Hotline every afternoon from 3 to 5 o'clock. Right before the 5 o'clock news from WTRF TV, 5 to 6 o'clock. If you can't catch the news on TV, maybe you're on your way home, just turn on the radio because we've got it for you right here. And what's Billy doing today? What's Mr. DeFabio doing today? He should be a great show because he had a whole day yesterday to prepare for it because he's always off on Wednesdays.
Yeah, when Bill called this morning, he didn't give me a list or anything, but if I'm going to guess, because the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are on a short week. They play tonight, actually, the Thursday night football game in Minnesota. And Steelers, the way the AFC, their division is, it's all jumbled up. And the AFC, not division, conference. Jeez, I'm forgot the word there. The conference, the whole AFC conference in the playoff, not the whole, but some of it is still jumbled up. So a big game tonight for the Steelers in Minnesota. And I would imagine if I had to guess, Bill will either have someone in today probably to preview tonight's game, or if not, tomorrow to give you a recap of the game. So I'm sure
If he
it's
doesn't have a guest, I'm sure he will be talking about it today on the Bill DeFayville Variety Show.
Yeah, so my guess would be some Steelers talk, and who knows what else with Bill. He I know I think he had DJ on Tuesday. The Nailers last night had a game stolen from them in Cincinnati, so I don't know if he'll have DJ on to talk about that or not. But if this weekend the Nailers play Cincinnati again, and if what took place last night happens over the weekend, by the time Sunday comes around, there might not be any guys left. Because the Nailers and Cyclones have developed sort of a hatred for each other, and it is a real hatred between Wheeling and Cincinnati. So this weekend could be interesting. So we'll see what Billy has.
All right, Billy's on right after the 12 o'clock news from Channel 7. Then we have, as I said, we got Dave Weekly at 3 and the TV7 News at 5. Tony Caridi is in here at 6. Lots of stuff for you to listen to all day long here on the radio. This is dumb, truly dumb. I thought about this during the break. At least we have hosts with different names. We've got Howard, Hoppy, Bill, and Dave, right? If you're on the flagship station of Metro News in Charleston, every host today is named Dave. It's dumb, but it hit me during the break. In Charleston, their morning guy is Dave Allen, so you get Dave Allen. Hoppy's away, Dave Wilson is filling in. And then it's Dave Weekly. So if you're listening on the big affiliate in Charleston, WCHS, it's like, which Dave is this? I don't know, just a Dave. Just call him Dave and let it go.
The triple D's down in Charleston.
That's right. So if nothing else, we at least all have different names. All right, I want to talk about Joe Manchin. Every time the question comes up, and the rumors pop up all over the place from time to time. Well, I think Manchin's going to become a Republican because he is a very conservative Democrat. Occasionally votes with Republicans, not occasionally, often votes with Republicans, and really wants to try to push bipartisanship. My friends across the aisle, that kind of stuff. But he has always said when the issue of party switch comes up, no. I am a Democrat. I'm going to stay a Democrat. I may have to disagree with my party from time to time, but I'm basically a Democrat. Then not too long ago, he began to say, well, I could become an independent, but I'd never become a Republican. This week, NBC News said they asked him the question, would you consider switching parties? And here's what Senator Manchin said, and I quote, I'm caught between the two, but the bottom line is you have to caucus somewhere. If they ask me to leave, well, I just have to say, I guess I have to abide by your wishes. I don't intend to leave, but I intend to be honest, end quote. Is he suggesting the Democratic Party would kick him out? The Democratic caucus would say, we don't want you anymore?
That's what it sounds like to me.
I mean, that seems to be the suggestion in the answer he gave to that question. I mean, it's not really a ringing endorsement of I'm always a Democrat, will never be anything but a Democrat. If they ask me to leave, well, I'd have to say I'll abide by your wishes. Now, it doesn't sound like he's saying I'm choosing to leave, and I think what he's aware of is that his own party is a little distressed with him right now. He's close to getting some transformational legislation passed. But with the 50-50 Senate, they need every Democrat, and we know the story. Manchin is not always in support of the Democratic proposals. Specifically right now with this Build Back Better bill, which Manchin has always felt was too expensive. He's already forced some parts of the bill, like paid family leave, to be removed. The child care credit has been trimmed back a little bit. So he's, he won't change he refuses to budge on the filibuster, and that is perceived by many Democrats as the only way they're going to get their legislation passed. So I don't know. I still don't think Manchin would ever change his party.
It almost
I
sounds
don't think
like
he'd ever become a Republican, let's put it that way.
It almost sounds like he's looking for whatever you want to call it, a reason or an excuse for something to say, okay, this is how I can get out.
Well, you remember there was a lot of talk a month, 2 months ago. Supposedly he had told some people that his game plan was to go to the Democratic leadership in the Senate and say, either you give me what I want or I'm going to resign from all my committees and my chairmanships. And if you know, and then his ultimate threat would be to leave the party. At the time, he was talking about becoming an independent. I mean, now I think Manchin, after that story became public, said, no. In fact, was that the one he called bullcrap?
I believe that is
I think
the
that
one.
actually was.
Yeah.
And he spelled it out. Remember that?
Yeah,
that's bullcrap. B-U-L.
All in caps, I believe.
Capital B, capital. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was a capital B, capital U. But keep in mind, just yesterday, the Senate voted to overturn Joe Biden's mandatory vaccine testing for federal employees. And Joe Manchin made that possible by voting with the Republicans. So did Senator Thune, but there were 2 Democrats, including Manchin, who voted with the Republicans to overturn Biden's vaccine mandate for businesses. So that clearly, I mean, that's a big deal for Biden. It's a big deal for the Democrats, this vaccine mandate. We're going to insist on people being properly vaccinated, and Manchin votes to overturn it, votes with the Republicans. So I saw one line yesterday, I think it was from The Fix, from Chris Cillizza, who writes for, I think, CNN now. He said, Manchin may be a man without a country. You know, do the Republicans really want him? I mean, they'd like to have him because if he would switch parties to the Republicans, then they would have actual control of the Senate. But I don't think they really want Manchin. But still, when he does things like vote against the vaccine mandate, it makes it easier for Democrats maybe to say, go away, Joe. I don't know. It was just an interesting answer that he gave to NBC News, which was not his usual, no, I'm not going to change. Well, if they want to kick me out, I guess I'll go. All right, coming up in the next hour of the show, the teachers' unions in West Virginia think that the teachers need more mental health time off because of the pandemic. Dale Lee from the WVEA will join us. That's part of what we have for you in our number tray. It is 9 o'clock right now. ABC covers the world on the Watchdog Morning Show.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
From